Today I will be performing an adaptation of The Talking Eggs by Robert D. Souci and Jerry Pinkney. Once upon a time there was a widow who had two daughters, Rose and Blanche. Rose was cross and cruel, and Blanche was hardworking and kind. Mother and Rose made Blanche do all of the work on the farm, while they sat around talking about becoming rich ladies in the city. One day, Blanche let the water become too hot, and Mother and Rose beat her. She ran into the woods to the well, crying to fetch fresh water. Once there, she saw an old woman who looked as though she might faint from the heat. Blanche offered her some water from the well. The old woman asked why she was crying, and she told her that Mother had beaten her, and she was afraid to go home. The old woman offered to let her come to her house and stay the night and have supper. But she had to promise that she would not laugh at anything she saw. Blanche gave her word. The old woman led her down a narrow path, and in front of a shack she saw a two-headed cow with corkscrews for horns and colorful chickens running around, some on one leg, some on two, some on four. She gave her word. She would not laugh. Next she went inside, and the old woman popped off her head like a pumpkin and set it in her lap to braid her hair. This terrified Blanche, but remembering the old woman's kindness, did not laugh. Next she wanted to prepare supper, and she gave Blanche a bone to boil for stew. Although it looked like it would make for a measly meal, Blanche did as she was asked, only to find it overflowing with delicious bubbling stew. Next, the old woman gave her 1 grain of rice to grind on the mortar. Blanche felt foolish, but did as she was asked, and only to find it overflowing with delicious rice. Blanche went to sleep happier that night than she'd ever been. And the next morning, the old woman thanked her for being so sweet and told her to go into the chicken house and to grab any of the eggs that said, "Take me." But if an egg said, "Don't take me," to leave it be. Then she instructed her to throw them over her left shoulder on her way home, and she would get a surprise. Blanche ran to the chicken house and saw all the plain eggs that shouted, "Take me!" and all of the jeweled eggs that shouted, "Don't take me!" She wished she could take at least 1 jeweled egg, but she did as she was asked and just took the plain eggs. Halfway home, she threw them over her left shoulder, only to find beautiful things in these eggs, diamonds, rubies, even a carriage with a white and brown horse. She loaded all of her treasures into the carriage and rode home like a grand lady. Mother and Rose gawked at all of her finery. They praised Blanche all night, but once she was asleep, the two began to plot. Mother told Rose to go into the woods and find that old woman, and then she could get some eggs for herself, and then they'd run Blanche off. Rose went into the woods to find the old woman, and after a while she saw her. "My sister Blanche says you have a real pretty house, and I'd love to see it," she said. The old woman agreed, but made Rose promise not to laugh at anything she saw. She took Rose to the house, but as soon as Rose saw the two-headed cow with the corkscrew horns and the colorful chickens running around on more than 2 legs, she laughed and laughed till she nearly fell down. Then it came time for dinner, and Rose complained about the fire, and Rose complained about the measly bone, and she complained about the 1 grain of rice, so they had no rice at all. She went to bed hungry and angry. The next morning, the old woman popped off her head to put it in her lap like a pumpkin to braid her hair, and Rose snatched it. "I'll give you your head back once you give me gifts like my sister." The old woman agreed, needing her head back, and told Rose what to do, to grab the eggs that said, "Take me," to leave the ones that said, "Don't take me," be. Rose then set the old woman's head out on the porch and let her headless body grope around to find it. Once in the chicken house, she saw the eggs that said, "Take me," and the eggs that said, "Don't take me," and she grabbed all of those jeweled eggs, and she ran home, throwing them over her shoulder. Out of these eggs came a swarm of hornets, a big gray wolf, and a menagerie of offal. Her mother came out to try and help her when she heard her screams, to no avail. Once the two finally got home, bitten, stung, and bruised, they realized that Blanche had gone into the city with her treasures to become a rich and generous lady, while Mother and Rose looked for that old woman in her shack for the rest of their days. That is The Talking Eggs, adapted from Robert D. Souci and Jerry Pinkney. Thanks!